So let's start with this webinar, and then we'll move, incrementally towards other indices and pairs. So first, I think if you were here last week, we talked about another pair, and we'll be discussing that. So for another is crude palm oil, one of the commodity that has been in a, specifically bearish downtrend since a long time, and there are few downfalls or bounces up, but those are not as good as we have seen back in 2014 or so. So prices are basically in a bearish momentum. They are in a firm grip of the peers. Look at this. That's a pretty much uptrend. Now, where are the supports for this? So, crude palm oil right now is specifically in a very bearish trend. But let us see if there are any good supports that can actually push prices back up. So we'll move on to higher time frame, and probably it has to be monthly, and we'll take out. Right. So this is the first point of support for crude palm oil, and this has done in 1900 pretty well in last few years. Prices have been able to sustain them and push back to 3,000 or so. But if you look at it, this is a very bearish formation. It's kind of a triangle pattern over here, and that's also a descending triangle. And if you look at it, the breakout has eventually happened, but that may have been on the downside. Now it's up to prices how long they are able to survive, but below 1900, I believe crude palm oil can move towards to lower levels of, say, of roughly 1670, 1700. That's crude palm oil. The only important thing right now here is that it has been under a long consolidation. If you look at this since 1980, there were cyclical changes, and this particular point of resistance were pretty good. So if you look at it, they have been playing pretty well. But these are the supports that have established in the last few years. Since 2006, there was a specific breakout. Then all the resolution that came in from the European Union and crude palm oil and alternatives to it. How can we find some good solution to it? All those things coming out. We believe this particular commodity is based on purely demand and supply in the end. So a lot depends on the fundamentals as well that's coming in. But at this point of time, it's very specifically range bound market. This is the point of inflection, this particular line over here. And then this around the 1670, 1700 are the supports. So that's crude palm oil. But I still believe anyone who's looking to be bullish, I think one should maybe act in crude palm oil between somewhere around, say, 1900 to 1950. At that point of time, one should, or one can think of at least taking a contra trade, but then also we'll have to look at volume, because those are good support, and they have actually worked well in previous, say, years. I mean, look at this support played out well. From over here, we have seen almost say 1,000 points rally. This was a small consolidation. Look at this, and then all the way to 4,200. I mean, this was a pretty much parabolic move. So if you are looking to, like, say, even thinking of having a derivative or, say, commodity in your trading ideas, I think crude palm oil is good below 1950, around 1950. But you must be sure that if it is going to close below 1900, we are going to go dead towards, like, lower levels. But at this point of time, you should stay cautious, and I don't think any naked trade should be initiated until unless we see some good, you know, what do you call it, reversal. But at least for the very short term, I can think of having a short position in it, very short term. This can be for like 4 days or 4 5 days. But anyone who's like active trader can look at, and this was basically the support, first, second, third, then again a bearish trend, then these are actually the resistances that are showing. So we may see crude palm oil getting back down to 1960. So I think below say 2020 or 2015. Let me just look at the daily chart so we'll be able to understand. Okay, sorry, that's an hourly chart. Let me put it back to daily chart. Yeah. So I think 2015, 2016 is a very good support. Once it breaks, now this is a purely technical and a very short term idea. Below 2015, I think crude palm oil should slip to maybe 1970 or at least till 1980 to 1970. And once below that, I think it should come down to 1950. That's a very short term trading idea. So one can look to short crude palm oil, I mean, and this may be some bearish move. So that's both perspective are there. If you're a very short term trader, you can use these tops to short crude palm oil, and we may get to 1970. But if you are a very positional kind of a person who inherits the position for a longer duration, I think around 1950 there is a good support. Now coming on to one of the most important commodity, since we have covered it and everyone is might be talking about it, and I think if you were part of the previous webinar, we pretty much talked about this particular commodity, and we specifically say that one should be long in it. And I'm going to use basic chart of this gold, and we're going to see the probabilities, what it will be, how it will be. If any one of you are there who's there trading maybe commodities, international comex market or say forex market, and have those MT4 accounts, I think this one commodity is going to be on fire in coming. So I think if you were there in previous webinar, we pretty much talked about gold over here, and it was coming down, and we pretty much affirmed that this can be a breakout which can turn all the heads and bring this commodity into the spotlight, and that's what has been done. So let's look at the probability and what might be the future course of movement in gold, and you might have some idea. So that's pretty much what we discussed. If you are new here and if you are someone who's coming back, so that was our basically idea. We discussed how these are the supports, and probably these are the points, and we needed a close above it. So this is the third week of almost the month, I'm sorry, and gold has finally given a breakout. So if you were there last night, it would have been straight away um, almost 40 50 points, almost 4,500 $5,000. But let's see what is the possible movement that is going to be. So we believe that gold has surpassed all its previous resistances, but me as a trader, suppose me or myself as a trader, I need to look at possible entry points which are good. First, position timing. Secondly, I want to look at maximum favorable excursion. I mean, how much it can move in favor of me if I'm long or if I'm short, probably long, and how much favorable this move can be. Second, how much maximum adverse excursion, I mean, how much adverse it can go against me if I'm long or if I'm short. In gold, of course, be long. So how much adverse it can go. So this is a commodity, and commodities are cyclical in nature. They are less volatile as compared to equity markets or as compared to forex market. So these are pretty much less volatile, but they have a very cyclical trend, and their trends tend to be last longer than any other equity or say it can be a forex pair, it can be any other equity market or so. So let me just show you how long the trends are. So probably there was a breakout over here, pretty much same. That was back in 2007, and this bullish run continued till 2008, almost half. That was a brief rally of 8 to 9 months. Then again there was a breakout over here, similar condition back in 2009. This particular trend continued, and continued, right? So that is clear that when there is a breakout in any commodity, it is having a cyclical nature. The trend is always intact. I mean, if you are on the right side of the market, you are probably holding a right position. So in this case, it's a bullish position. So now at present, let me just put it again, and this is the breakout that we have seen. This is a very long-term breakout, and prices have given a classic breakout from here. And how much now the upside or probably the target can be, then we'll move on to, of course, forex. And let me just see. So this is first, and that's an inverted hidden shoulder over there. That's a shoulder. If you are a trader or a person who looks at chart or trading, you realize we talk about these kind of things. This is a head and this is another shoulder. So probably the target, let me just calculate it for you. Okay, so this commodity can actually move till here, 1520. And let's see if our Fibonacci projections give us the same number. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take a Fibonacci projection of its previous rally, and yes, that's probably around 1468. And if I take the projection of the same previous trend that lasted over here, that is going to come at 1461. So that's almost like a 70 or 60 odd dollars from here. Now comes the important part. Where are you going to look at or to buy this commodity? I mean, prices are too high. First, you won't get a decent stop loss. I mean, look at this chart. Where would you put a stop loss in this kind of a trade? Probably over here, and it will blow you up. Look at this volatility. I was short in the morning around 138.98, and we booked around 1385. So that's almost $1,300 over there. But in this kind of a market, you are not able to put any stop loss, and it might, even if you put, it will be wiped off in few minutes. So in this kind of market, you need to understand that volatility needs to settle down. When the volatility is high, I mean, I'll just put it for you, volatility close to close. Look at this. Now this is a volatility and how wild it has been. Look at this sharp up move and suddenly up. So these volatility, they need to settle down, and as soon as they settle down, we tend to create some position. So this volatility at this point of time is very high. You as a trader need a comfortable position at the right price with a favorable stop loss, right? I mean, you just cannot have that kind of a trading capital where you go up front and buy any commodity without thinking of a stop loss. So me as a trader, I personally think stop loss is much important. And rather than profit points, I think my stop loss points should be defined as a systematic or algo trader. But let's see, we need volatility down. So in this point, I think prices should come back to 1360, 1350 levels. And once it is around those levels, then I think I would be comfortable to recommend gold for any trader out there who wants to long this commodity. Probably we were, or at least I recommended silver around, I guess, 14.38, and that was June 3rd, I guess, or June 2nd. Yes, so let me see if we are able to see what happened in silver. And so This was, I guess, 3rd or 2nd June. Yes, over here. Look at this breakout. I'll just mark it for you. And this is the beauty of having position at the right time. Look at this. As soon as the breakout was there, this was 3rd of June. Look at this. That's straight away $5,000. I mean, going by the lot size, standard lot, and look at this uptrend. That's what happened in gold, but I think silver was much steeper as compared to gold, so I was comfortable in it. But anyhow, that's what silver is all about. Now we'll move on to some forex pair, and then we'll probably gonna wrap it up with your questions. And so that's gold and silver, and probably the conclusion on the gold part is still, I believe that around 1355, 1351 should be long in precious metals, specifically gold, or maybe silver around those levels when gold is at around 1355. I'm gonna move on to another pair, and then we'll be covering forex. And this particular thing is very attractive for anyone who's trading, I believe, and one of the market that initially attracted to me as well. But yes, there are ups and downs in this market. But let's see. Let me erase all the drawing first. So this is, I think, is a GBP USD chart, and we're pretty much long around in this commodity currency over there. But let's forget it. We're gonna look at those pairs that are offering some good potential, and then we'll wrap it up. So first, I'm gonna look at all the major pairs, and to start with, it will be of course Euro USD. So Euro USD, I believe, if any one of you is there who trades this particular currency pair or is actively trading, let me share my trade. I was short in this pair over right here, 1.24, 1.25. That was back in January 2018, February first week, I guess, and that was one pair. Uh, That was one pair which I shorted and covered almost 400 to 500 pips. And now we're gonna look at what is the current state of Euro USD. So long consolidation, very long consolidation, but finally the breakout is there. Look at this. So yes, of course, Euro USD, there is resistances that has played well for this pair, and right now we have seen a decisive breakout. As far as this pair is above 1.1 to 1.1210, I believe once it takes out this level 1330, still I believe you should be not actually taking it just blindly, because there is a difference between how you execute a trade. So I think Euro USD from this point should move higher. I think 1.1310, 1350 is the last resistance. From there, I think 1.15 to 1.16 should be the next level. But let me just find out if we can. Yeah, so that is it. Now this whole picture changes over here. That's why I said let it breach above this 1.1345 levels. If it is able to do that, we might see some good probably move that can take it to much higher levels. And finally, we are seeing that positive TMI coming up after a long time, maybe since March 2019. And that is one of the tendencies of forex pair. They go into consolidation pretty long, and when there is a consolidation, it tries to, or it almost wipes out retail traders. If anyone of you can validate it, I mean, yes, no one is spared. So I've got one good pair, and that is Cable USD Cat, and this pair has taken my eyes pretty much from last 2-3 weeks. I have been following it. Now this particular pair is actually coming out from a long say trend that it has seen. See, it has been trending for last few years. I mean, since 2017, look at this. It has been going up all the way. But I think this is kind of a rounding top which has been seen. Also, it was able to sustain its previous bottoms. Now it has actually reached that, and confirmation might come in when it further moves below 1.3050, sorry, 3040 levels. Once that happens, uh, I think this particular pair is going to come down towards lower level, maybe 1.28 to 1.26. It's not the first time this pair is doing this. If you want to look at this, pretty much same formation was there, a lot of uptrend, and then suddenly there was a bearish momentum. As soon as it was out, I hope you're able to look at this. Look how it, respected its support, and once it breached those support, a pretty much downside of almost 800 to 900 pips. That's kind of a trading in forex. I believe I look at. I don't look at it in a very short-term perspective. Secondly, same pair I believe is still a bit of a consolidation to bearish move, and going forward, this should move to much lower targets. I mean, there is a potential 400, 500 pips uh, in that kind of a movement. So that is USD CAD. We're gonna discuss another GBP USD, and then we'll call it a day. Or maybe I'll just take up your questions. So that is GBP USD, and let me erase all the drawing. It's looking like a child spoiled all the work. Erase all the drawing. So this is GBP USD. It's a perfect double bottom. There is no doubt that this particular double bottom is playing out in GBP USD. First, second, I'm gonna put a weekly chart, and then yes, look at this. I think I'll do candlesticks. Yeah, that's a 1.2480, 1.2479. That's a very strong support, and probably a very short-term resistance that is playing out. But this is a very volatile pair, and I believe that one should avoid it at this point of time at least. Once it moves beyond 1.2760, 1.2770, we may see some kind of a trend developing in this particular pair. But still, at this point of time, if you look at it, uh, very stiff consolidation, very stiff consolidation. There is no trend over here. It's probably moving in between a range of say 150, 200 odd pips, and that's a very stiff consolidation. So it's kind of an avoid. There is political events that are going there. There is Brexit, then there is elections. So all these things make it a bit complicated. So I probably avoid it at this point of time. And last but not the least, USD JPY. The Jap yen is clearly in bearish trend. I mean, there is no question to it. Look at this. Probably it's gonna take some support over lower levels of say 107. Then we may see some another top forming over here. So it's in a bearish trend. There is no doubt about it. And here you go. So this is a probably bearish channel that is playing out, and right, so around 107, below 107, it's gonna bounce. So around 108, 108.2, one can look to again short, but beware that once it is out of this channel, uh, by the time we have our next webinar, the things might change, so we might have some trading idea. But for now, I think USD CAD and Euro USD are the two currency pair that you need to look at. Other pairs like GBP, NZD, Euro, CAD, those are already trending, and they do trend, and the volatility is much higher in those kind of pairs. So we usually avoid that. So if you have any questions, please put them into the chat box. It can be related to anything. I'll try to answer. Then we'll call it a weekend, and you can enjoy as well, and try to put your trades in a much better way, given the conversation we have had today. Last but not the least, this is GBNZD. A very strict consolidation is seen. Either side movement can come into it above 1.9350 or below 1.9230. Those are the two levels, and this particular pair has been in a very uh, small range, so one can look at that. If you have any questions, you can put down there. I'll try to take up. It can be related to anything, even if it's a general question related to trading. Then we'll be ending this webinar, and probably we're gonna meet in the next webinar around July 1st week. So let's come down to 2 or 3 stocks for SGX and KLY. Probably those are in care. They might want to look at KPG Healthcare first, Moore Group. Second and third is Kellington Group. I mean, these stocks are pretty much in an uptrend, established uptrend, and they have been doing good for past few couple of weeks. And we believe that Kellington, KPJ Healthcare, and Moore Barnley are probably going to perform better in coming few weeks. Second, when you look at Singapore, I believe China Aviation and Hong Leong Financial is looking good. As far as other stocks are concerned, say like Wingtai or TPV Technology or S&Rs, I think there is a kind of a volume problem, but S&Rs is still much better, but it's a very slow counter, very slow, and it might take a lot of time to actually move further up. But I still believe that S&Rs HT and Hong Leong Finance is still good candidates for coming weeks. So you can note them down. These are for Singapore and this is for Malaysia.